Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, presented by our good friends over at Little Caesars Pizza. We're Stay Hot. They're staying ready with some hot and ready pizza for you all NFL season long. Get over to Little Caesars, wherever you may be. Get a slice or a whole pie, whatever floats your boat. But we're talking about some NFL football today. Week 5, another great week of NFL football. We're going to talk about the Thursday night game, go over some of our favorite games from this Sunday. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this beautiful, I guess it's now Monday morning. It is 12:17 at the time that Matt and I are recording this in Ohio, and it is 11:17 for Theo in good old Minnesota.
That's right. I'm doing all right. I had a long drive yesterday from Denver to my hometown of Northfield. Saw a lot of cows, saw a lot of hay bales, saw a lot of nothing.
It's how it be driving through the Midwest sometimes.
That is how it is driving through the Midwest. I saw a lot of Midwestern things, as in nothing. Yeah. So,
does Minnesota have a hell is real sign?
Oh, every state in the Midwest has several. We got nothing but crazy shit on billboards out here. It's like real. Never mind. I don't want to say what I was about to say. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing okay. Pretty uneventful week. Buckeyes won, but they didn't look too great. Didn't look too clean doing it. I'm very nervous for the Penn State game. And with how all my other sports teams are doing, I'm needing to hype myself up for the Hornets season because it might be them or bust. So,
yikes!
I'm really looking forward to this Hornets year, man. I honestly think they could be pretty good, but they could also win 20 games. I know who they are. So that's what I've been thinking about the last couple of days.
They can't be worse than the Panthers.
No, they can't, because if they suck, they have their own pick. So
there's still time to trade it. Still a couple of months.
Still time. Trade it for LeBron. This is the vision.
What about you, Blaiden? How are you doing?
I'm good. I've been trying to move into my new house.
That's right.
It's been a pain. I've been trying to get my office set up all weekend, but you know, we're chugging along. Got a bed coming in about a week and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then couch coming. No.
Are you moved in? Like, are you living there now?
Yeah.
And the bed's coming in a week and a half.
Yeah.
So like sleeping bag on the floor type situation? Air mattress?
Yeah, air mattress.
I was in that era not too long ago, Blaiden. There's no shame in it. I moved to Denver, I was on the couch in a sleeping bag for a couple nights.
What people keep telling me is like, you know, making your house a home, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know, if you want, you know, you get the shit that you want, you know, don't feel like you have to just get a couch for the sake of getting a couch. I ordered a couch. It's not coming for a month. So.
Damn.
On the slow roll from where?
Hey,
we got Latvia?
I have no idea. I just thought it was a cool looking couch.
Coming from Niger on a camel?
I assume they have to like put it together or something. I don't know.
Put it together. They're weaving it out of silk. Damn.
Can we see a picture of the couch when you get a chance? Not right now.
Yeah,
they got couches for free on Facebook Marketplace that you can pick up tonight.
Yeah.
That's where I got my couch. It smells like dog, though. Dog that is not mine.
Free Facebook Marketplace furniture is so alluring. It is. I remember back when we first moved into our apartments, like this was when I was in college, I had a friend who just like kept grabbing stuff and then as a joke would grab like way more couches than we could possibly have in the apartment. And we just like put it in somebody's room or whatever. It's good stuff. I have almost exclusively free Facebook Marketplace.
Oh yeah, Facebook Market. My apartment is done by Facebook Marketplace. Shit people are putting on the curb and throwing
it's
it out on
green.
Facebook Marketplace. But
It's very green.
Blaiden, your place will almost certainly smell better than mine and look better than mine, and probably be better than.
Smell better is definitely something I'm My main goal is that it smells and looks better than my college apartment, because that place looked terrible and didn't smell much better.
I just go crazy with the candles. That's my strategy.
Oh yeah, dude, I've been going wild with candles. Zach's.
I'm getting these incense sticks and oil, but it's not like you don't.
You got to go legit candle, man. That's a huge mistake.
So here's I love candles.
None of this
too.
hippie bullshit.
No, man. Okay, I love candles.
I don't want to hear about the hippie bullshit, Blaiden. Stop.
I don't want
Be a man and get a
residue. I don't want smoke residue on my ceiling from burning a shit ton of candles.
Damn.
Because
No
I
smoking in your house?
I have high ceilings, so I'm not trying to. It's going to be hard for me to get up there to like clean them.
Okay.
Right.
Bro is in a mansion.
I am not in a mansion. The property is like 2,000 square feet. The house itself is like barely over 1,000. It's not that big.
All right, Steve Jobs.
Hey, I do code a little bit.
That's how you're in a house. That's why you're in a house, man. You do code. That's why you got a house with high ceilings, and I got an apartment with Facebook Marketplace furniture, is because you know how to code and I don't. But anyway, I don't want to learn, man. Fair enough. I don't want to learn.
You know more ball than I do, so it's a fair trade-off.
It's knowing ball doesn't always pay the bills. So how much does that give me?
Fair enough.
I can know as much ball as I want. I'm still getting cooked on r/Dolphins. Okay, so
I can't search up my name on Reddit. I'm too scared, man.
I have never done it either.
People are just sending it to you like, dog.
It cannot be good. It cannot be good. But let's talk about some football.
Let's talk about
solid 7-minute aside about whatever.
7 minutes of banter. Who would have thought? Let's talk about some Thursday night football. The Bears.
Hey.
Who would have thought they'd get their first win and ruin Theo's locks?
Night one.
It's so fast.
I'm never locking Thursday night again, man. It's just too soon for it to be over. It's just
cursed and wonky, and it's just plain no good.
Primetime games are like, locking a primetime game is just like, do you really want to do that? Everyone plays different.
I thought Fields has played pretty well these last 2 weeks. A little bit better as a passer than he was these first 2 games. Really, everything has run a little bit smoother. I'm sure that they've trimmed some of the fat out of their playbook. Seems like they're getting Fields a little bit more, on the move, off play action, and helping him out a little bit. And he's rewarded them. They're getting DJ more and more involved. And the throw to him, on the double move on that Thursday night, I mean, perfect. That wasn't even horrible coverage at the catch point, but laid it out just far enough that there was no way the corner could contest it. But kind of a bizarre game overall, like how the Bears were able to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say cut some of the fat out of the playbook. The fat being throwing to anybody other than DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Which is not the worst strategy in the world. I mean, he's always been this level of baller. It's just been tough sledding. He definitely deserves it. I thought Fields did look really great, and it's interesting. I mean, he's got to be extra motivated to go and ball out, knowing that he could be replaced, and that the Bears are probably going to have a great shot at a quarterback if they want one. So he's at least making that a debate now. I wonder exactly how good he'd have to be for the rest of the year for them to roll with him again over like a Caleb or a May or whoever.
He'd have to play himself out of that conversation,
Here's the problem, though. With most quarterbacks in this
Oh,
situation,
right.
they could play so good, like 7 wins, 6 wins. Now we're out of range. Fields can't do that
That's
because
right.
of a certain franchise
out
that won't be
east.
named. So it's a really tough situation for him. But for how bad things have been going for the Bears for the first 3 weeks, I mean, I think 99 out of 100 guys probably just laid down and don't have any fight in them. So for Fields to come out here and at least start to turn things around a little bit is encouraging, even if it's not against, the greatest teams in the world.
And I think that the passing attack of Chicago had a lot to do with the general ineptitude of the Washington cornerback room, which I'll get into. But one thing that really impressed me even more than Fields and DJ Moore, as gaudy as their numbers were was the running game able to get going on that front. I thought that Darnell Wright and the return of Tevin Jenkins were huge for Chicago.
Yeah.
Those are some real body movers. And Khalil Herbert, before kind of getting twisted up in a freak, they had their fullback out there for the second half. They could have put up some really crazy rushing numbers. And the fact that they really couldn't lead on that through the whole game, I thought sparked the Washington comeback a little bit. But the fact that they seem to have at least one side of the line looking competent is also huge.
Wright has not been bad this year at all. He's been pretty solid. And, it's easy to sit there and say, damn, we didn't get Carter. But it's a big win. It feels like it's within reach of being really well put together in like another off season. And it's not so detrimentally bad that, Fields is in a position where he can't possibly play good. I also like this game that they got Fields more involved in the ground game. I think you've got to.
Yeah, definitely. Through the first 2 weeks, there was hardly any designed runs for Fields.
Right.
And
it just
Washington.
Can't be like that.
I don't even know why that was the plan to begin with. And I don't want to give the Bears too much credit for like actually figuring out that the best running quarterback should like run the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been happening more and more. And as far as passing on Jalen Carter goes, I think that Ryan Poles has made his share of mistakes as the GM. I think that trading away Roquan only to hand linebackers that aren't as good just as much money, and the Claypool trade are some pretty inexcusable moves. The hiring of Eberflus to me was, looking back on it, was an uninspired choice. But I don't know exactly how much he had to do with it or the hiring process there. But passing on Jalen Carter looks horrible because Jalen Carter was my number one overall prospect, and he's obviously wrecking shop, which is not surprising. But given everything that happened with him before the draft, I think it is a little unfair to pretend that everybody just like missed on their evaluation of him.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean,
in a situation like Chicago, like who knows if Jalen Carter is quite as locked in based on everything we heard. I mean, his coaches wouldn't really defend him. Obviously, he was arrested at the combine, and I mean, when he was going through his workouts, couldn't complete them. I mean, it was let's not forget how bad it was during the pre-draft process with Carter.
Right.
Like, it made sense that his stock was falling a little bit, and football is a lot about being mentally locked in. And I think it's easy when you're Philadelphia and you have all of his teammates and all the team captains at Georgia, and you're ready to lock in and win a Super Bowl right away. And
right. It's a Super Bowl
that
team.
structure.
Yeah, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
When you're Chicago, you got none of that.
It's the same thing with like Gonzalez in New England. It's like you go to the best cornerback coach in the world. It's like, yeah, he's a great prospect as is, but if he goes to like the Raiders, is he still going to be a great corner? I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, no, fit matters a lot. And I do want to talk a little bit about the Washington side of this. I think they suffer from a couple problems. The first is their corner room. It's supposedly it was supposed to be a strength of the team going into it. Kendall Fuller was always solid, and they brought in a first round pick and Forbes and whatnot. It's just not good. Watching their tape versus AJ Brown and then DJ Moore, you get guys who are kind of in a similar mold as these yak monsters, these catch point monsters, and you get them on a guy like Forbes, it's just over. Little push-offs. We talk about this when we do our wide receiver college film breakdowns. Like, you got to be able to give them a little shove. I get that it's OPI. You got to give them a little shove to get separation on these routes coming back to the ball. And you do that to Forbes. He goes flying like he just got punched in an anime. Like, it's a crater in the ground.
It's a huge problem. And I mean, what he weighed at the combine at, like, what, 170?
Oh, he was 160.
He was like 165, I want to say. Tiny. I mean, how many receivers are there in the NFL that are like pretty high level guys that have like 50 pounds on them? Not an insignificant amount, man. And it's just it's a very, very hard thing to overcome. Guys who are like 30% bigger than you. It's 100% true about the push off stuff, and
you got to tackle those guys too. Is the other
guys too?
I think it matters so much more at corner than it did at receiver for Devontae, and then it does for Tutu Atwell, because as a receiver, you are the one that is often establishing leverage. As a corner, you have to adjust to that leverage, and
as a receiver, you don't got to tackle anybody.
As a receiver, you don't got to tackle anybody. You don't got to go help in run support. And if you're a receiver and you can't win through contact, then just don't play through contact. You know, there's other ways to win. If you're a cornerback and that's how the receiver wants to go, you got to like stop that. So it is a huge problem.
And then I think Fuller, to me, doesn't quite look like an insane athlete. Like, sometimes they ask him to close these spaces and he drives off his back foot and just doesn't quite have that burst. And I think Del Rio hasn't done a great job in protecting these guys. You got Forbes moving around the formation with A.J. Brown occasionally 2 weeks ago. I just don't think that they can afford to call any blitzes at all. I saw some plays versus Philadelphia where a guy was blitzing from depth. Like, they started with a too high shell and a safety blitzed from there. God. It's like, that just takes too long. It's useless. Yeah. And you're taking bodies out of coverage. These corners need a lot of help. And I thought there was just too many plays where they ended up being matched up one-on-one against, the biggest, strongest, fastest receiver on the other team. And they just got tore. It didn't matter how good the front was. It didn't matter what Jonathan Allen or Chase Young is doing. And Chase Young looks great. And Jonathan Allen looks great. And Daron Payne looks pretty good as well, And
they have a really strong defensive line.
They do have a strong defensive line. So, but it doesn't matter if the corners, are just getting torched. And I just think Forbes was the wrong pick. I think his size should have. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that as soon as he weighed in at the combine, a lot of teams probably just erased him off their board. I mean, there are size things for a reason, and I think they're really cropping up with him. And then Howell, he's on pace to take 99 sacks this season.
He's the
Nate Tice. That was a stat from Charles McDonald on Twitter. Nate Tice had another one where he said Sam Howell took 5 sacks and his sack rate went down.
He's like Hackenberg, man.
That's what I get.
That's my I mean, it's ridiculous. Although he's maybe in a legendary tier himself. I don't know if there's any way to put it other than you just can't take that many sacks.
No.
Yeah.
And
you're gonna get hurt
first
of all.
Yeah, he's gonna get himself banged up. I feel like some of his sacks are more honorable. I think some guys take sacks like trying to get away and can't, and some guys are like more like I'm stepping up and thinking I can still make a throw when I can't. I think Howell maybe falls more into the latter category. But it's just a tough watch, and they're drive killers. You can't do it, obviously.
Yeah.
There's
a reason why people say that like sacks are sometimes worse than interceptions.
Yeah, sacks are terrible. It's underrated how they are drive killers. It's underrated how hard they are to come back from. And with Howell, I respect Howell in the fact that he's a great athlete and he wants to make a big play down the field. He really, really is looking to get that explosive, and he's definitely capable of giving you more than the average, even starter, perhaps, because of his arm talent and his broken tackle ability, combined with his willingness to hit that kind of stuff and hang in there and look for it. But as cool as those plays are, like, there needs to be down consistency, and that just can't happen when you're taking 100 sacks in a season. So
Yeah.
too many sacks and too many explosive plays given up to number one receivers on defense. And I just don't know what the answer is. Like, Forbes improves, Howell improves, I guess, but it's kind of a tough ask because Howell had a huge sack rate in college, and Forbes is always going to be small, probably. So
Yeah.
I just don't think that this current core with Rivera and Del Rio and going with Howell as a starter and their first round pick Forbes, it feels like the only real good thing about this team is, you know, the group of weapons that they have and their front four, and organizationally the rest is not where it needs to be. It's just too much bad.
I mean, maybe there's a scheme on defense that they could incorporate that would make life a little bit easier for their secondary. I don't know what that would be. Maybe it's borrowing a playbook from like the Lions and the Browns, but like,
I don't know what it is either. They play a lot of quarters, Del Rio, and that could be the best thing for them because that, you know, is putting as many bodies as you can deep and trying to prevent those explosives. But that was last year. This year, it feels like there is a little bit more one-on-one type of stuff. And maybe that's just offenses finding ways to get one-on-one, because when you play court, a lot of the times those corners take everything outside or vertically. And if you run a route inside or vertically, like, or outside, they got to somewhere. You can't just keep them off the field. I mean, so you can run routes into their zones, but
maybe they just thought their corners were going to be better this year. Maybe it was like, you know what?
Yeah, I think it's possible that they drafted a cornerback in the first round with the idea that they were going to be able to match up more.
Yeah.
And as with literally any team that is not where they need to be, mostly comes down to them not drafting that well.
Yeah.
Mostly they're big. It's like they just didn't hit on the corner as it stands right now, and that makes it tough.
Yeah. Didn't hit on the corner, and they're starting a 5th round pick at quarterback, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll do it. That'll do it. But you know how it is. If you're anything like us, I know you're trying to go see your favorite team in action this season, whether that be the Browns. I hope it is. Or maybe it's someone else. Or maybe you're trying to go see a college game. Or maybe you're trying to go see a concert. Or maybe you're trying to go see a comedy show. But guess what? The best place to get those tickets is at Game Time, where you can get last-minute tickets at the best price, guaranteed, every single time. It doesn't matter, again, what type of event you're trying to go through. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. So you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. And then the all-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. And you can buy the tickets in like 2 seconds. It's like lightning quick. You can buy those tickets. So go ahead, download the Game Time app, or go to gametime.co and use the code BlaidenK for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code BlaidenK, BLAIDENK, for $20 off. You're already getting the best price, and you get $20 off. Again, download Game Time or go to gametime.co. Use that code. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. But if we want to talk about some organizations that are more well managed, there were 2 really explosive offensive performances today from Shanahan-y schemes. One by Shanahan himself, the other, of course, by the Miami Dolphins as they took on the New York Giants, which, by the way, I will say, the Giants, they put up a pretty good fight. All right? They played their hearts out. No Saquon Barkley. Their offensive line, they had like multiple practice squad players out there starting. Daniel Jones hurt his neck, had to leave the game. They didn't lose that bad. Like,
It's true. I was expecting another 70 bomb from the
70.
Dolphins.
That would have been the 70 bomb, but it wasn't quite that bad. Okereke had a good game defensively. He tipped a pass, got picked, and then he picked another one later. Both of those were questionable throws by Tua, but that's another conversation. Devon A-Chain for the Dolphins is a monster.
He's nice.
If he's not the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year, he should be.
I don't think so. Puka and Stroud.
Puka is Puka. Stroud I could see.
Dude, it's legitimately like an all-time race right now. Stroud is a record-setting baller. So's A-Chain. So's Puka. All of them.
Puka does like lead the league in receptions.
So. Yeah, and
what do these things have in common?
Where
did these offensive coordinators and play callers all come from for these players?
I can't quite put my finger on it, man. It's just must be a mystery.
Something must be done about these coaches. And by something, I mean every team needs to have one on their staff.
I mean, probably. But I mean, we've seen teams find ways to stop it before. It's just
not teams like
the Giants, right? Because you need what did the Chargers and what did the Patriots do? Or I guess the Patriots do most recently is, you can get hands on these guys, knock off the timing a little bit. But if you don't have the best coached cornerback room in the league with Christian Gonzalez, who can run step for step with Tyreek Hill, it's not getting done.
And you need to put a roof on things as well. I think that what we saw today with the Dolphins winning big and Shanahan winning big, they always win big, but today was almost especially so, especially for the 49ers. But you look at Wink Martindale, the guy is a dinosaur. Like the way that he plays defense is just not what I would be interested in running in the league right now. These zero blitzes, these one-on-one battles. It ends up with someone trying to guard Tyreek Hill one-on-one. And that's what happened to their rookie.
Did you hear Wink Martindale's quote in the pregame meeting? He's like, I couldn't sleep last night. His wife asked him, how did he sleep? He said, like a baby. Wake up every 2 hours crying and then try to go back to sleep.
I respect the honesty. But it's just as boring. Like, there's not too many layers in his pass rushes. Like, they all just kind of fly downhill, and then there's man behind it, and you're just trying to win the one-on-ones, and like that's just not the way you can play defense anymore, I think. And
there's just more you can do,
Yeah, and I think Dan Quinn is the same way. That's my hot take is Dan Quinn. He's got better pass rush plans than Wink Martindale to me. I think that Dan Quinn is way better at serving him up. Yeah. But I locked the 49ers and a couple of weeks ago said the Dallas defense was overrated because I felt like they just matched up so poorly with the Shanahan teams because they stay in that one hot. There's not guys reading things out from depth. There's not guys taking 2 steps forward to take away a crosser. They're running 20 feet backwards, and it's just hard. And with Dallas especially, it's like, who do you have doing it? It's Leighton Vander Esch. It's number 14, whoever that is. It's 33 Clark. It's like the personnel isn't even that good outside of the front, the defensive line. So I just think it's hard to play this style of defense that the Legion of Boom played. And that's where Dan Quinn comes from. I don't think Wink was there, but obviously Wink has always been Wink and had his specific flair. Yeah. But I just think both of them just aren't. If I was McVay, if I was Shanahan, I'd be licking my chops against the Cowboys defense. And we saw it tonight. I thought that this was. I thought I was kind of crazy when people were looking at this matchup and saying like, "Oh, it's going to be such an insane, close, tight game, like a slugfest." It's like I think the Dallas defense looked pretty overmatched, and they were, and the Giants are the same way. And they certainly received no help from their defensive coordinator, I thought.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair way to put it. Do you have major concerns about Dallas's offense? I mean, we can talk about they gave up,
Yeah.
we can talk about they gave up, 1,000,000 points, 42, but they only scored 10. Dak threw 3 picks, got sacked 3 times.
Yeah, I have concerns about their offense. Here's the thing. The 49ers, if you were to play a best of 3 series right now, if that was the NFC playoffs, no one's beating San Francisco. And it's almost unfair to say like Dallas doesn't match up with them, because it's like, I don't know who does. Who are the top teams
Philly.
in the NFC right now? Philly? Who else is there? There's Detroit, and Detroit balled out today. They scored 42. Who does Detroit have better than Ayuk on their offense?
No one.
Like Detroit's a really good team.
Yeah.
Who do they have better than Ayuk and Kittle and Debo and McCaffrey?
Maybe you say Amon-Ra is better than Ayuk. Maybe.
Hey, I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd take Amon-Ra over Ayuk.
It's just different skill set, but yeah,
it is a different skill set. But it's like their best guy on offense would be like the slot receiver, the receiver 3 in San Francisco, and they've got Sewell, and their offensive line top to bottom is probably a bit better than San Francisco's.
As a collective unit, yeah.
As a collective unit, like Aiden Hutchinson is good as well, but he's not a Nick Bosa type of game changer. Jack Campbell isn't. It's like who can go band for band with the 49ers? Only the Eagles, and they're just not off to the hottest start this year. So we'll see where it gets to by the end. But I don't know who matches up with San Francisco, so maybe I don't want to be too harsh on Dallas, but my view going into it is like maybe no one matches up with the 49ers, but especially not the Cowboys.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think the Cowboys offense is just like, I don't know. It's a philosophy that I don't like. I hate the whole, we just don't want to turn the ball over mindset going in. Like that's the number one most important thing to us. And obviously like not turning the ball over is super important, but when that becomes the thing you're focusing on, it feels like you're more like scared to lose rather than trying to win on that side of the ball. And that's just never going to be the thing to do.
Yeah. And I worry about the offensive line as well. Like Tyron has been banged up. Zach Martin has been banged up. Biotish has been banged up. Like the line, when all healthy, looks okay, but it's just a lot of older players that, through the grind of the season are going to miss a few games. And I just don't think their depth is incredible. And their receivers too. CeeDee's great, but it doesn't really seem like Brandon Cooks has been this crazy great number 2. He's a small guy. He's still got the speed, but the catch radius and the willingness for Dak to just, throw him a contested ball isn't really there right now. So it has to be kind of a perfect look.
They gave him one look, but it was
down the field. He was on Fred Warner, right?
Yeah.
And like, obviously that's the type of matchup you want to throw it to when you're Brandon Cook. Like Fred, as great as Fred Warner is, like
right.
Cooks pretty much dusted him, right?
Yeah, he's faster.
Like, who do they do they have like a ball winner out on the edge? There's Gallup, but he's gone through major injuries, and that 1,000-yard season doesn't appeer to be coming back. And Cooks isn't really that guy on the outside as well. So
Turpin's getting a lot of time on this.
Yeah, Turpin was the dude who was the best at it tonight, and then he got hurt. And Dak too is like, I think Dak is quite good despite all the picks that he threw tonight. I still think that he's an upper echelon quarterback, but for the amount of money that they're paying him, he's not quite in that number 1 tier. And so overall, I think like the talent on the offense isn't, I mean, you look at them compared to the 49ers, again, they're completely outclassed. Completely outclassed. So they're a good team, and against bad quarterbacks, Micah Parsons can kill them. Their front can kill them. But I just think they're an overrated unit. I think that the team like people always get so hyped about the Cowboys. I gave it up this off season, and I think they're still going to win plenty of games this year because I think there's a lot of teams worse than them in the NFC. But
yeah,
you get into the playoffs, and I just don't know if the Cowboys have the horses.
It's weird because the defense does feel like it's definitely one of the better defensive units that they've had when Diggs was healthy. I thought so. But then I see games like tonight and I think, is this the worst iteration of the Cowboys in recent years? And I think maybe because like the offensive, like the main staple for these Cowboys teams in the past has been how great their offensive line has always been. Like, back was like Dak, Zeke, Amari Cooper. I think I'd prefer that team over this team because the offensive line was so much better. I think I prefer the teams. Yeah. I think I prefer the teams with Romo, Des Bryant, and DeMarco Murray.
Oh yeah, I definitely would take those teams over this, especially without Diggs. I just don't know how they match up with tonight. They just got killed tonight. And it wasn't just the defense. The offense did them no favors with the short fields. And that was because of a multitude
This is supposed to be
reasons.
The third or fourth best team in the NFC, and they got blasted.
They got blasted, and I just don't know where it gets better because Gilmore is old, and maybe Bland becomes locked down, but I it's not a young team. It doesn't feel to me to be ascending, and they've just kind of been hitting the playoffs and not quite being able to match up with the top teams. And why would this year be any different? Why would this be the Cowboys' year? They're a top 5 players already out for the year, and they just got. Last year they at least kept it close against San Francisco. This year they got beaten over the head, and I thought, when you watched what happened to them versus the Cardinals, it was easy to see coming because the Cardinals were kind of dipping into that Shanahan-y type of bag with all the motion and running gap scheme and changing where the gaps were and making the linebackers flow and hitting play action off of that. And I mean, Dallas didn't know what to do. And it's like, well, how are they going to deal with it when it's George Kittle catching the ball instead of Trey McBride? And the answer is they can't. And it's not a shock.
They gave up 3 touchdowns to him.
And maybe Leighton Vander Esch, he got hurt tonight, so maybe his backup is better than him. I don't know. That's about all you can hope for because the guys at the second level and at the third level just aren't good enough on this defense for the modern.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So, Giants, Cowboys, they have the same problem, different personnel, of course.
Yeah,
but ultimately, Theo, I mean, didn't you say you thought the Giants were going to be better than the Cowboys this year? But I mean, really,
I did. I was wrong about the Giants, but I don't think I was quite wrong about the Cowboys.
You were wrong. You weren't that far off base on Dallas.
No, I think
the Giants. I'll give
I was
you some
late on the
slack for.
I was late on the. Here's how it is. I was just a year early with the Giants. The 2-15 take, I'm just putting in this year's slot. I'm just switching them around. I can do that. And then the Cowboys, I was right about. So I was basically totally
So you got it all.
I got it. I saw the whole thing.
People need to know, it's like when you do a record prediction, you're saying that this is a record I think they'll have at some point in the coming years.
Exactly.
It doesn't necessarily have to mean this year. Good Lord.
Listen to what I'm saying in the 2-15 video. It is the gospel truth of everything that is happening this year. So it's just like, go watch that. I tried to warn everybody, except the Giants were mean and did a good job last year, and then everyone was mean to me, and then I felt like I had to throw them a bone, and that was my it's everybody else's fault for yelling at me for being
the big takeaway is that stop being mean to me.
This is why you should never argue with me, because
you should just every time you record a TikTok from now on, just post
eventually
it like
I'm just
going to
be
later.
right. So yeah, I'll put it on a timer. It's like people get mad about me about like, oh, Burrow looks so. It's like, just give it some time, man. Like eventually he'll be washed and I'll be right.
He threw 3 touchdowns to Jamar today.
But when he's 40, he'll be exactly as I said.
Unless he's Brady.
Well, then when he's 45, just give it some time. It's all gonna
just be patient, man.
Just be patient. Everything I say is going to come true. Just give it a little bit of time.
Stay hot has never been wrong.
Yeah,
except for the Saints 0-16 take. That might never happen.
Hey, just give it some time, Blaiden. It'll eventually come around. It'll eventually come
the
around.
Saints, they played good today, though.
This episode of Stay Hot is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is your one-stop shop for everything fantasy football, fantasy baseball, fantasy WNBA, fantasy NBA, fantasy FIFA, fantasy tennis, fantasy PGA, esports, racing, soccer, basketball, KBO, NHL, CFB. They got everything on here, man, and I can't get much higher than that in terms of the pitch of my voice. I'm looking at their app now, and I see a featured bet. Jordan Love just needs to hit 0.5 total yards tonight. I think he's going to hit that. In fact, I think that he's going to hit over 20.5 completions, over 1.5 passing touchdowns, under a half an interception. I can combine all those things with Aaron Jones and Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and all that stuff and all these game modes and really whatever you want to do on Underdog, you can do it. So log on to the Underdog app, use the code STAYHOT, that's one word, and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Again, that is the Underdog app, promo code STAYHOT, and they will double your first deposit. Check it out.
But Theo, you were the bigger man of us and decided to watch the early morning game in London.
Matt was there with me.
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh, so it's just me.
You slept in.
No, it's not like that.
You slept in.
It's not like that. I've been trying to move in. So, when I am awake, it's, I'm not focused on watching a ninth. I didn't have my office.
We know you were making French toast, Blaiden.
I didn't have.
No,
bread
you were
this
lollygagging. I know it.
I didn't have bread this morning, guy.
So you were getting bread this morning.
No, I got bread at 11:30.
See, I was getting bread morning, noon, and night. It was a pretty good game this morning. It was a bloodbath, though. It was kind of depressing, honestly.
Dude, it was depressing. It was depressing because you don't have a heart if you weren't rooting for this Bills team, unless you're like a Jaguars fan. I wanted them to pull this one out so bad. That defense played so tough, even with all the injuries that they had. The defensive line in particular, I mean, it's half them being great. I mean, AJ Epinepsa, how many times did he get out on the edge and bat something down? At least 4 times this game. It was something to watch. Part of it is, of course, the terrible Jaguars offensive line, which is just a total disaster.
It's not good.
But man, they deserve a lot of credit. They've got a lot of guys who can go in there and get some stuff done. But they needed it because they got so thin. And I don't know, it just came down to the end of it, and Allen tried his best to make it all work, but Jaguars were on the field too much. Bills' running game was like classic, just totally nothing. It can only be Allen through the air and nothing else. And ended up costing him a game.
I thought the depth of the Bills deserves all the credit in the world, especially at the linebacker position, I thought. And AJ Espinosa, as you said, on the D line, had the game of his life. Linebackers did a good job though, and Milano being out presumably for the year is a huge blow for them.
They said he's done. I think
he's done. Yeah, so it is heartbreaking. Milano is someone who can he can punch you in the mouth, man. When he comes downhill, he can blow shit up. And as a pass rusher, as a run defender, his instincts, he knows what angles to take. He knows when to hit the hole. He's good in coverage. When things are behind him, he's not quite, Fred Warner, but he can certainly break on anything just as well as anybody. Like anything that he sees, he will kill. And
he's definitely in that tier 1 of like Warner.
Yeah, he's a game changer.
I think Warner's in a tier kind of alone, but I think Roquan and Milano
that's fair.
Maybe Quincy Williams is in that tier this year. Well, I'll have to watch the tape to say for sure, but I know that he's been balling from any broadcast of the Jets that I've watched. He seems to be absolutely everywhere as well. But yeah, it's a massive loss, but they came up with some huge PBUs, the linebacking core. The Jaguars weren't really able to run the football until the very, very end of the game. They were finally able to get some traction after and you can't even blame the Bills. They were on the field the majority of the day, just taking these body blows, going down. They were still forcing the Jaguars to be one-dimensional until maybe the final drive or two. And you can't do that without good linebackers. You can't. I mean, Jaguars only had 11 points deep into this game. Eventually, they started to find something, though, on the outside. Kair Alam did not have a very good game. They were able to hit these out routes. No. If someone goes out, a safety can't take them, a linebacker can't take them. It's just these outside corners, and that's really what the Jaguars were taking advantage of. Lawrence played a gutsy.
You're telling me that the Kair Alam agenda is over?
It might be over, man. It might be over. And
first Matt Corral, now this. I can't take any more.
Lawrence played a gutsy game as well. I thought he had a fantastic performance. Made several deep hole shots, some of which were caught, some of which were not. He was dealing with an injury as well. He kind of landed awkwardly, and you could see him wince and get massaged on the sideline in between drives. Like he was dealing with something as well, and still played at an extremely high level as he has been doing all year. But the Jaguars defense, they balled, and it was a good defensive performance, I think, both ways.
Yeah, Lawrence definitely was playing a little bit banged up. He wasn't maybe as quick to get rid of the ball at times, or he was a little bit more. It is definitely a problem. It was affecting him a little bit, but he still made a lot of great throws. I'm super worried about his health long term with how bad this offensive line is. I mean, it was ugly stuff today, and it's really not a good unit at all.
No.
But yeah, I just think this is kind of I just feel bad for the Bills, dude. It's like reportedly the field was super hard and they're going. And
it totally was. Did you see Lawrence's arms? They were bleeding. I hadn't seen so much bleeding happening. There were guys with bloody pads and Lawrence's elbow was all bloody.
Got hurt. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was ridiculous how many guys went down. I can't remember the last time I saw something like that. And for it to be like they're going to this London game and they've got jet lag and the other team doesn't, and they got to go play on this brutal surface, and they've got all these injuries, and they still even get the ball.
I really wish I locked the Jaguars. Anyway, I thought about it because they were in London all week, and I just was like, how much of an advantage is it for your internal body clock to be there like for an entire week versus a team that is coming from a different continent, getting there, unpacking, everything is all thrown off. You're just not used to anything. Like I feel like the Jaguars almost had a crazy, like the biggest home field advantage that you can have with that type of adjustment to your body. And it was a huge. It seemed like a huge factor in this game. I mean, the Bills were. If the Bills played like they did in the second half, the whole game, I feel like they could have won. That's when Diggs really started to get going and whatnot. But the beginning of the game, it was, I mean, people were getting hurt more than they had more injuries than yards. It's not an official stat, but
good Lord. I have to ask, was it grass or turf?
Turf.
You know, it was turf, and that is a
that's-
grass stadium, and
that
they
is
installed
interesting.
turf for the game.
You know, that's interesting because Travis Kelce looked like he tripped on some turf today and had a pretty rough injury. He came back, but
I mean, there's a lot of numbers that suggest that turf is not as safe, and the players know this.
And the players know this, and they installed that grass field for the Super Bowl, and it was really slippery. And
Yes, turf.
the big turf narratives.
I don't know. I'm pretty confident that some turf fields are like really bad and dangerous because why? Like, I don't think the players have any motivation to lie about that. I think they know best. And if they're like, yeah,
they're the ones who playing for it. I mean, I
it's
can
like,
imagine.
hey, this is going to hurt me. I believe them. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, we
and I
know
think
the real
about
answer. Grass fields cost more to maintain, and they have more effort to maintain.
It's harder to hold a concert when you can't take the field out.
Yep.
And that's the real key. I mean, these stadiums cost what? $5 trillion to build in taxpayer. You can't just hold 18 football.
Kind of understandable, but everybody needs just the Cardinals type thing.
Yeah, stadiums just need. Here's what needs to happen. All these stadiums that cost, every stadium, the price tag just goes up and up and up. Like everyone wants to outdo the last stadium. They're all just more expensive than the last. Someone just needs to build like a $300 million stadium that just is for football and install grass. Because the only way you can justify the price tag that the taxpayers pay for these stadiums is if
a mall.
Is if it's holding concerts and if it's holding the Final Four and if you have a field that you can tear up and turn into something else. Otherwise it's not happening. That's why here's what's going to happen, by the way, in Green Bay. Eventually, every field that gets built is going to have a dome. There's never going to be an open air stadium built again, I don't think. And eventually, every team except for Green Bay and Lambeau Field is going to have one. And then they're going to be like, well, why would there just be one? There's going to be one blizzard in the year 2050. Well, maybe there won't be a blizzard in the year 2050 the way things are going, but
there'll be a fire.
There'll be some bad game. Yeah, there'll be like acid rain and they'll be like, we need a roof on this thing. Lambeau is going to become a historic landmark in Green Bay. They're just going to leave it there for like high school championships or whatever. And they're going to build a bigger, nicer new stadium. And that's what's going to happen. Eventually, all 32 teams are going to have a dome over their head, and sports aren't going to be played outdoors, professional sports.
It sucks.
And they're all going to be on turf.
Domes are lame. It's against the spirit of the game.
I agree. As a Packer fan, I gotta. Man. I mean, players probably would say they'd rather play indoors, but
yeah, like the Bengals have been trying to get a dome for like,
and then it's going to be the dome era. Every Twitter in 2050 are going to be like
Justin Jefferson would put up 3,000 yards a season
in the dome
era.
It's all going to happen. And then there's also going to be 20 games. So this is the future of the league.
We're going to have 82 game NFL seasons.
Right. When the super soldiers arrive in 2050, the mechanical legs and arms. And
those will be banned for the first decade of their existence.
Right. But eventually.
Right.
So all the records are going to be out the window. I've seen it.
Hey, but then Justin Herbert can throw like 1,000,000 yards, and he'll be even more perfect than he
the dome era people are going to be like, Herbert only threw 5,000 yards instead of 8,000. Like, what are we talking about? He played against Twitch streamers and reality TV show TikTok stars instead of the super soldiers of this era. He'd never survive. He'd never survive in the mutant cyborg era as he was playing. And then I'll have to be the old head who says, you didn't see him play.
You've got to adjust for era. You've got to.
You got to adjust.
If Herbert had grown up in the mutant cyborg era, he himself would be a mutant cyborg and he'd be putting up 9K yards.
Which is true. Herbert, if he did play in the mutant cyborg era, he would put up 10K yards.
And still wouldn't win any big games, but like
no.
Yeah.
Dude, Herbert would put
Tua
up
would
10,000.
throw for 12,000.
Herbert would own the mutant cyborg era.
No,
he just
he
will
would-
never get his chance.
Herbert will throw 10,000 yards and 100 touchdowns, and they'll go 8-8.
All right, I'm going to LA with a proposal to freeze Justin
In
Herbert
fact,
until the mutants come along.
Herbert,
Play
we
his
need to
best
put
ball.
Herbert in a chamber like Futurama and bring him out in the mutant cyborg era and see what happens. He would not be Fry. He would be way better.
He would be way better. Oh my god.
Him
We got
and Burrow. We'll settle this once and for all in 2070.
how did we
We're
get
gonna
here,
bring
man?
him out of that. We're gonna bring him out of the ice and see who can really play with the freaks. Then Burrow's arms talent will get exposed.
No, it'll be equalized because they'll give him a bionic arm.
Well, yeah, Burrow probably would need a bionic arm when he's in the carbonite when they unfreeze him. He can be in like the
Who are the
Bengals Hall of
stormtroopers in
Fame.
this?
He can be in the Bengals Hall of
Put
Fame.
him in carbon.
They put him in carbonite, put him in the
Bro, I swear to God,
just
they did that
play.
to Carson
They're like,
Palmer's.
Here he's coming. 2070. There'd be a big countdown. His return.
When we're letting Burrow out of the carbonite.
That would be crazy.
How did we get here, man?
Well, we were talking about the London game and the turf.
And then we
Anyway.
started talking about the future of NFL football, I guess.
I don't know. It's like 1 a.m. So we're just
Real.
talking about bullshit now. But
Yeah, I have to edit this shit.
how about
so-
this? Buy or sell? The Bills are still Super Bowl contenders.
Dude, I think the Milano injury is a hell of a hill to climb out, or hell of a hole to climb out of.
I agree.
They're in real trouble now. I kind of was buying them. If they were like healthy right now, I'd be super bought in on them being able to do it. But I don't think so. I think
I
think the
I
run
still
game
buy
isn't
it.
there.
I still buy it because the Milano injury hurts, no doubt. It hurts a lot. He's an all-pro. He killed the Dolphins. He had a fantastic game against Miami. I don't know if they'll be able to hold up without a linebacker like that. But they did kill Miami last week. I mean, they really took it to them. And I look at the Chiefs with their receivers, and, Kelsey got banged up today. The AFC isn't quite as stacked as it seemed. So I feel like they still have a shot at the thing. If Daquan Jones comes back, I don't know his injury or the severity of it at this point. Ed Oliver has been playing fantastic football. The depth at linebacker filled in and actually played well.
Mhm.
I personally, if the Bengals end up being fully operational and Burrow looked real good today, which we'll get into, I definitely could see the Bills not winning the Super Bowl, obviously. But I'm not willing to sell all my stock in the team because I thought they really played inspired football.
You'll keep
with
a
all
couple
the injuries.
shares,
I will. I'm not totally out. And plus, we didn't even really get to see Von Miller today. He was active.
True.
But I mean, everybody was dropping like flies, and I think the safe move was to keep them out of there. So they're still getting that back, and it would be a tall order for him to make up for the loss of Milano, but maybe he's got enough juice to do it. I mean, he was pretty damn good last year when he was healthy. So
He was.
we'll see. We'll see. But I still think that they're good. I just think this was a total trap game up in London.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely see
And
that.
not
It's just
even a
so many
trap game, because I
injuries.
think the Jaguars are still, I know that they haven't been what we thought, but I don't think the
It's just a trap
Jaguars are
game in the
out of
sense
it
that they just
yet.
got screwed, man. They did.
It's just
Yeah.
not their fault, man. It's not Josh Allen's fault.
No, I don't think it was Josh Allen's fault today. I thought he played a perfectly acceptable football game.
Look, if you guys know me, you know I'm trying to get big and strong and add a lot of muscle so I can move a lot of weights and do all that type of stuff and flex on people. And the best way
Same.
to do that is with an app called Fitbod. Fitbod helps you by creating personalized workouts that you can just plug into your routine, go to the gym, don't have to worry about writing something down or drawing something up or sitting down and researching it, which really cuts out the amount of time you're going to be spending on working out in half. For me, it makes it easier to start in the morning. Like when I wake up, I know that I don't even have to remember what I'm supposed to be doing. If I can just get myself to the gym, it'll all be laid out for me. If you'd like to try Fitbod, you can get 25% off your subscription at fitbod.me/stayhot. That's all caps. That's fitbod.me/stay-hot. Check it out.
But want to move on to the Eagles and the Rams. I thought this was one of the more exciting games of the afternoon window. I know a lot of people loved the Bengals. Jamar had 3 touchdowns today, but
15 catches, too.
I went stupid. But like the star power in the Eagles Rams game of just like Stafford and having Cup back. I mean, just what that brings to that offense, along with Puka Nacua. There was some stuff where they just couldn't quite hit, but the Eagles, I think, are totally back on track. Outside of like a couple of errant throws here or there, and really it's the rushing ability of Jalen Hurts that I think sets the Eagles apart from, like, if you're like, what do the Eagles do that the Niners can't do? The Eagles can run it with their quarterback really well, like really well. I mean, there's several runs that Jalen Hurts had where the Rams had him dead to right. Like they should have easily, they had 3 guys in front of him. He'll make one guy miss, run over the other. I mean, it's just like no one is doing that at quarterback outside of like him and Allen. But Allen doesn't really make people miss the way that Jalen Hurts does.
There are a couple more who can do it, but
yeah,
that is an element that they do have some edges over the 49ers, I will say, if they can really get their shit together. Hurts being able to steal a gap in the running game is one of them. And they can also attack vertically outside the numbers better than the 49ers can with Brock Purdy, I think.
Yeah.
But
there's other guys who can do what Hurts does, but honestly, there's nobody who does. Hurts's advantage is that he's so big, so they feel comfortable doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Half the teams in the league wouldn't even attempt something like the tush push because they just don't want it. They're so scared to injure their quarterback. With Hurts, it's such a threat because it's like he's strong and young, and you know that he can take those hits and be okay.
He's really strong.
Yeah.
He squats 600 pounds.
Yeah, the volume of which he does it, he's a power runner in the sense that, maybe it is. Richardson is too, but he's always hurt. I think Richardson
Hurts is always healthy, despite his name.
That almost gives him an argument for best rushing quarterback in the NFL just off of the volume of it that he can withstand is so valuable.
Fields is a different type of runner, and when they give him the designed runs, he has that same kind of effect.
Hurts doesn't have like the crazy juice that like a Fields or a Lamar or a Richardson has, where those guys are like next level, maybe top speed.
Daniel Jones as well.
Daniel Jones as well. Yeah. Daniel Jones doesn't have nearly the elusiveness
I'm
of any
kidding.
of those
I'm-
guys. But yeah, his top speed's real good.
He can't get up there. I'll never forget the graphic. The 22 miles an hour or whatever he hit on that play where he tripped.
That's crazy, man. Like there might not be a player that fast who has as little wiggle as Jones does. But
got the least wobble.
But Hurts I think has an argument for being the top rusher off volume. I do.
Yeah. I mean, he's so good at it. And so it's like when you're in a pinch, like they're in 3rd and short, what else do you like? There is no other option other than just take it, man. Like that's you. You've got it.
That's the other thing. It's so valuable. I mean, it's like Cam. It's just the red zone cheat code. If you can just say go forward.
Yeah, and this is the other. It's like when they do this, like other teams can get it. Like they can sort of get that QB sneak down a little bit, but when like Daniel Jones does it, they get like they get it barely. They get like maybe a yard. When the Eagles do it, they get like 3.
Oh yeah, it looks different. It looks different. The whole pile just moves forward so easily. It's automatic. It really is. And in the other ones, it's like maybe they get it, but it's like a pile up right at the line of scrimmage, you know? Like the line of scrimmage doesn't get reset 3 yards down the field. Mm-hmm. It can get you close, and maybe the quarterback reaches over and maybe they don't. With the Eagles, it's just you get I mean, it's hilarious to watch. It's like it's like an avalanche. You just get fucking annihilated at the point of attack and everyone gets killed. It's hilarious.
It's great. That's what people are like, you gotta ban that play. It's like, no, you gotta get better players, I guess. I don't.
And then as far as the Rams side of it, I watched a little bit of this tonight because I'm going to make a TikTok about it. But my main takeaway from the Rams was that Nakua, there's room for both Nakua and Kupp in this offense. Yes. And it's not that Kupp is going to slide in and Nakua is out of the lineup and now it's just Kupp in that role. It's, Tutu is out there. Van Jefferson, it's over. Unfortunately, I'm calling it. You put Tutu out there to stretch the defense vertically, and then you can put all 3 of them on the same side. Nakua running intermediate, Kupp trying to separate underneath, and there was plenty of production for all 3 of them today under Matthew Stafford, and McVay isn't afraid to embrace the drop back passing. This isn't quite the under center rollout boot Jared Goff offense anymore, as we well know.
Yeah, I mean they've got a guy that can really sling it. I mean they got a guy into any window at this point
who can just do straight dropbacks and pick you apart. And they got a lot of 11 personnel. I mean that's McVay 11 personnel. That's what they did when they had Woods and Kupp and Watkins. Now it's just a different 3, and I think they're going to be in that personnel all the time. They're going to drop back way more than they did with Goff when they were running that 11 personnel a couple of years ago. And there should be plenty of yards to go around. And I think Puka's a serious contender for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's easy to forget about because he was a late draft pick. His game isn't necessarily a very sexy one. Like he doesn't really jump off the screen like A-Chain does. He's not a quarterback like Stroud is. He's in this offense where, it is kind of easier for wide receivers. He's this movable piece. He plays fullback. He's in the slot blocking. He's doing all these things. And maybe you're like, well, there's just so many other things to account for in an offense like this. But again, it's the same thing with A-Chain, like all these guys come from the Shanahan tree. They all kind of benefit. And with Puka, I mean, if he keeps up this pace, I don't forget about him in the Rookie of the Year race just because he's a wide receiver and a McVay.
I think the hard thing is like Stroud is a quarterback, and a quarterback playing well is going. And
Stroud has been playing incredibly well at the same time. It's like not to say that like Puka should win it over Stroud. I'm not quite saying that, but I think it's important not to forget about him.
I think I would give it to Achane today, just because he has like 7. He's had like 7 touchdowns.
How would you give
like
it to
2
Achane
games.
over Stroud or Puka?
Because I mean, if we're, I guess,
I guess
like,
he's averaging 12 yards a carry, but he's only had
He's-
38 attempts.
He's averaging like 12 yards a
He, like,
carry.
leads
He's
the
averaging
league in
he's
rushing
averaging
yards.
like a touchdown a quarter.
Does he actually lead the league in total rushing?
Dude, I think he's like right up there.
He
Yeah,
might.
no, his like past 3 games have been crazy.
Jeez, they really have.
It's
His
wild.
past
It's
3
wild
games are like
shit,
out
man.
of this world. He had 4 touchdowns against the Broncos, and he had 2 last week, and he had 1 today.
They've got him at 309. That can't be right.
He
Yeah,
he's
also
at
he's
received
at 460
He's at
with 5
460.
touchdowns and under 40 carries.
Hey, the way I see it, he's had 3 good games and Puka has had 5.
Fair enough.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, if Puka kept doing what he is doing now, but then Achane comes in and like has like 1,500 yards and like 8 yards a carry, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It gets
Yeah, I guess
tough.
it's not as crazy as I thought. I knew that the efficiency numbers were what they were with Achane, that he was averaging like 10 yards per attempt or not. And I guess when you're averaging something that crazy, it doesn't take that many carries for you to
12 yards a carry.
Here's the thing, though, is like Achane, if Achane is super efficient, but I feel like Rookie of the Year should be like a volume award.
Maybe. Yeah,
I'd
'cause
like
it's
to see a-
can you be the most important rookie for your off or for like your
Like
offense?
they leaned on Nakua. Nakua was getting what 20 targets a fucking game. Like they really, really leaned on him and needed him to perform to have any shot in these games without Cup. And with Achane, he's
it's
almost
not
like
MVP.
he's
Yeah.
almost like a luxury where it's like, yeah, well, we also have another just fastest player in the league that can widen out a defense and has great wiggle and vision. Like the Dolphins offense would honestly be fine without Achane. Like
Oh, it would, but
it would totally be fine. And so that's why I think I would give it to Stroud or Puka, because I think like Achane is what he's doing right now is incredible. I mean, when you see the talent with the ball in his hands, like he's super great. And what he's doing is pretty unprecedented. And if he sustains it over the course of the season, I certainly think that he should probably be in MVP talks if he's averaging 12 yards a carry over the course of the season. And
12 yards to carry, 1,500 yards, 30 touchdowns.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I mean, Achane's incredible. But I think if I were to give out Rookie of the Year right now, I'd give it to either
I'd probably
Puka
give it
or
to Puka.
Stroud. I think I might give it to Puka as well.
Stroud
good
is
as
playing
Stroud is
awesome,
bad.
but Puka is like legitimately going for like 1,800 yards or something. You know,
It's a
I mean,
crazy race though, because Stroud is like number 2 in yards, and he's a quarterback with a
yeah.
bad.
He's and look, he's been playing
mark
crazy.
it now. If Stroud plays like this all year, he's winning the award.
You know what?
Yeah,
You know what? I changed my mind. I would vote Stroud with the offensive line so banged up. He would be my first place. Puka would be my second place, and Achane would be my third.
Stroud's great. Wasn't the best quarterback in his game today, but he played well.
Ritter undefeated at home. Respect.
Not undefeated at home, I don't believe.
Yeah, he is. Ritter's undefeated at home.
Yeah.
Oh, you were saying Stroud's not
Yeah.
undefeated at home. Okay,
I
gotcha.
have no
not
hate
the
towards
best.
Stroud,
Not the best
obviously.
NFL quarterback out of Ohio in the last 2 years.
No. High bar though. Still could be a great player.
High bar.
Ritter
Yeah.
mega balled today, man. It was actually incredibly special stuff.
I didn't watch
I'll
this game.
have to watch it. I watched the end.
I watched most of it, dude. I mean, it was like aggressive, pushing the ball down the field for the most part on the money.
Did it against a good defense, dude.
Did it against a solid defense, granted with some banged up cornerbacks, but I don't care.
Still.
I don't care.
I wrapped up watching this game, I wrapped up watching because this was the early window. I wrapped up watching the Dolphins game, and I just happened to. I was like, you know what? Let me check in on Ritter real quick, and they're like taking a knee on second down, and they're losing, and I'm like, what? What? So you're that's why I'm like, I saw your video after, and you're like, oh, they were being super aggressive, and I'm like, this is the least aggressive play calling I've ever seen. Just taking a knee to kick a field goal.
Well, that's not aggressive or non-aggressive. That's just the right call in the moment. You just take,
I mean, sure. I mean, I would try and score a touchdown, but like,
I think you'd be wrong to do that. I think if you're
we got Mario Crystal Ball over here.
That was a crazy game. That was awesome, dude.
I didn't watch it. I just saw people were reacting to it on Twitter,
Dude,
and I think
that thing was hilarious. But what I do want to say about Ritter is that, okay, so they're down 1. They've got the ball, minute left at the 50, 3 timeouts. Great kicker. I assumed that was going to be that, and it was going to be like run, screen, run, something like quick in, like we're totally taking our foot off the gas and playing for the long field goal. We have no faith in game manager Ritter. That's what I assumed. And he hit a nice shot 20 yards down the field immediately and basically ended the game because they were so close and the Texans couldn't do anything. I really think Ryan Tannehill with wheels is a possibility for Ritter still. I was really, really moved by his zip and his finally pushing the ball down the field and getting it to Kyle Pitts, and the fantasy managers were happy. And this was a game that they would have lost if Ritter did not play awesome. They were averaging under 3 yards a carry, multiple skill players, lost a fumble for the Falcons, and they came back and won it anyway. I'm praying that Ritter has a long and fruitful NFL career. That's my boy.
That is your boy.
It is.
We believe here on the Stay Hot podcast, we may joke about it being over, but it never was.
Same with Matt Corral, man.
It may look. Maybe it doesn't work out for Ritter, but as it stands right now, it's not over. He's still in the fight.
He's still in the fight. He is still in the fight. Look, he's got the whole season. It matters how he looks down the final stretch, because this will almost certainly be a race for the division that the Falcons are at least in the hunt of down the stretch, and I think that's when we'll learn if Ritter really has it or not. So it's not about September.
No,
September doesn't matter at all. He's got him at 3-2.
Well,
he's locked
September
in.
Matters a little bit.
It matters a tiny bit.
Dude, their schedule is so crazy easy. We can pull this off.
Bro thinks he's on the team.
Bro thinks he's Desmond Ritter.
He thinks
you are living vicariously.
We're gonna see him
Desmond
start
Ritter.
curling his hair and
I'm
Matt, you get a perm. I
start looking.
If we get how many likes on this video for Matt for you to get a perm, Matt?
I'm not doing that.
How many? Come on, how many likes for you to get a perm?
All right, how many likes for me to dox your address of your new house, Blaiden? I've been plotting to get like a I'm doxing you banger off on Twitter, but I would certainly get banned, so I'm not doing it. But
100,000 likes on TikTok or like 1,000 likes on YouTube.
I'm not doing it. I'm not.
You have no follow through, man.
What do you mean? I'm
follow through. He didn't make the bet.
Telling people to give me $1,000, and when they don't,
if this gets 1 million likes, I will get a perm. How about that?
All right,
no one wants to see it from me. I take it back. I'm not doing shit.
No, it's too late. No, you have to.
Everyone heard that. Everyone was like, I don't want to get Theo to. We know Theo will do it. Matt is what would really be special. So never mind. I'm not doing it, but no one wants me to do it. So it's all Matt. It's all Matt.
It was all
he doesn't want to. Hey, we're about comfort. We're about making people comfortable. This is not a toxic environment. You don't have to do anything you don't want to, Matt. But what we do have to do before we get out is talk about the Little Caesars game of the week, which was an AFC North showdown.
Okay.
Game of the week in kind of a bad way. It was Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. Well, the Baltimore receiving core, I think, is the main takeaway from this game. It was not good today. Zay Flowers, as much as he's balled in some of the previous weeks, today was not a banner day. Several key drops. He got behind the defense and stumbled and slipped and fell down. Bateman dropped an easy touchdown in the end zone. I think Andrews dropped another. Aguilar dropped another deep down the field. There was a fumble by Justice Hill, I believe, down the field. So, I mean, you add up the EPA lost on all the plays that I just described. It's got to be at least
7 points.
At least a touchdown, probably multiple.
At least the 7 that they lost by, right?
So they let the Steelers hang around, and then this was really the let's give George Pickens a back shoulder game. And Pickens played fantastic. He balled out. He was mossing everybody left and right. Pittsburgh didn't really rid itself of the issues that it had in the past because they didn't really score any points all day until the end, and that largely came because of turnovers on the other side. But I think it was game of the week just because of how chaotic it was at the end, and I think how it reset the AFC North. You've got a couple weeks ago, we would have told you, man, this is shaping up so beautifully for the Ravens. Like Burrow is struggling. They're off to a slow start. The Steelers look like a dumpster fire. Deshaun Watson looks like a dumpster fire, and now he's banged up. Like Ravens can run away with this. They had a chance to really take control today, and they blew it. They absolutely blew it, just as Burrow seemed to get right. And last time we saw Watson, he probably had his best game as a Brown against the Titans, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what seemed like a golden opportunity for the Ravens just 2 weeks ago seems like kind of deteriorating in their hands right in front of them. And not to say they can't still win the thing, but because Lamar's playing at a really high level right now and they have a good defense. But damn, they had a chance to put some ground in between them and like the Bengals, and now there just is no ground. They're not first in the division. They're behind the Steelers. And I just think that that's a disaster.
Yeah, the AFC, I mean, we knew the AFC North would be tough. It's a very strong division. It's always competitive, especially between the Steelers and Ravens, right? I mean, these teams go toe to toe every single year. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be brutal. I will say this: only one AFC North team lost today, and it wasn't the Browns.
Well,
fair enough.
Hang the banner. Where does this rank in Cleveland Browns history?
Oh man, that's
got to be at least top 100.
It might be higher than that. We'll see. I don't know. I'll make the list.
Browns didn't lose. The Ravens did. Like very normal week of football.
It's frustrating because it kind of feels like, just a Ravens weak weapons loss, and that's a tough way to see them lose because that's the thing you were praying would be solved this year, is that you're like, okay, maybe they don't have like a true 1A guy, but I like Flowers and I like Bateman and I like Odell, and somebody's going to step up of that group, and you should be able to make it work. And some games it just isn't going to work like that, right? Yeah. I still really like Flowers. Don't get me wrong. I know Bateman's coming off of like being kind of on and off, and Mark Andrews, having a mishap. It's like almost just sort of a disaster game. This happens to everybody, but it's their biggest weakness, the weapons. They're not strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're already so snake bitten and banged up is the other thing. And Odell just doesn't have the burst that he used to by any stretch. And he's been banged up in every game, just like Richardson, like, and a couple other players across the league this year. It's like they just can't stay healthy. He enters the game and then he goes out. Odell and Richardson both feel like that for me this year. And it was really, really rough. And you got to get Lamar some skill position talent. Like Lamar's prime might not be that long. He might not be a guy that plays deep into his 30s. Like you just can't feel like another season comes and goes where he can't be maximized as a passer because guys are dropping. All the shit that happened to him at the end of the game, like where it was to some extent on him, like he should have been more careful with the football. The fade wasn't well placed. Like the fumble he brought the ball back when maybe he shouldn't have. But the game should have been fully in control at that point. And Lamar was playing like truly, truly like amazing football until the very, very end of that game. And you want to, like, I blame him to some extent for not, like, they had a chance to win it at the end and they didn't. But
yeah, man,
like it should have never have gotten to that point. And for a lot of quarterbacks, it never does. Like they're on the bench, like sip a Gatorade because that game is in hand. And that's really what it should have been for the Ravens today. And yeah, I thought, like, I want to give credit to the Steelers. TJ Watt played amazing.
As
always. And Pickens played amazing. But it was mostly the Ravens shooting themselves in the foot. And I think Steelers fans should understand that. I think they saw the same thing that we did.
I saw a clip from Ben Kurt, Packers legend. Someone was in his live stream. They were like, the Steelers were bad today. He was like, today? Have you watched football this year? They haven't showed up at all.
Yeah, Steelers have not been good. Steelers are first in the division. Their point differential, they've scored 79, allowed 110.
Good.
The Ravens
God.
have scored 109 and allowed 75. So basically flipped, but one's ahead of the other.
This is so backwards. But this is the AFC North. I mean, this is...
Yeah, some more weird shit is always happening with you guys. You guys are just not normal.
We can't be normal. The NFC North is the most normal. We are the least. I think that's...
The NFC North has a pretty clear hierarchy, although it's all kind of out of whack this year based on where it's been over the last 20 years.
But it's still a clear hierarchy. The Lions are at the top, and then everyone else just kind of like falls into the pecking order at the bottom. But like,
yeah, the NFC North hasn't been too chaotic since I've been alive. You're right. That's because the Packers are just goated.
I guess so, man.
And they will be back tomorrow night.
Who do they play?
The Raiders.
It is.
The Raiders.
Under the watchful eye of the Dome in Las Vegas.
They should win that game.
Dude, I love the Sphere, dude.
The Sphere is awesome.
Sphere is cool.
Oh my God, it's so
My
cool.
thought with the Sphere, though, I saw the footage from the U2 concert. My takeaway was, why does U2 need to be there?
Bro,
like,
do you know how many? I saw so many people that were like, they were like at the U2 concert, and they're like, "Yo, this dome is sick." They're just like, "U2."
Like, why do we need U2? They're not. It's like, why would I pay attention to what's happening on a stage when I'm surrounded by like this 3D HD screen? They need to be playing nature documentaries in there, man. Not U2.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see U2. Like, why am I watching a concert there? I want to watch some TV. I want to watch the game.
Can I get a 4D experience of an NFL game?
Why is this a music concert? Why isn't this the game?
Well, like, what are you going to do? You're in the dome. Like, you're going to be looking up. You're going to be looking down. You're going to be like, what's going on all over the place? It's like, why does this is modern marvel of technology. Why is U2 there? Like, why do they need to be there?
Modern marvel of technology. Why is the game not on?
We need a new
I'd rather watch that
group. We need a new musical group that can truly embrace the Sphere.
Cardi.
Put the Stay Hot podcast on the Sphere, please.
When does Stay Hot get to go in the Sphere?
Yeah.
Can we do?
Yeah.
Can we do like a live podcast?
It's
Like
just movie night, man. I don't like the concert is so like if I want to see a concert, I want the concert to be like, yeah, I want a light show and like lasers are okay.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
stuff,
I
and
think
it
the
can be an
visual
event.
aspect of the concert really upgrades it. I'm not the biggest U2 guy. I think they could have picked something better like Radiohead or
hold on, you're cooking.
yeah, they should. It should have been Radiohead, really, but I actually the visual aspect of concerts is super important. I could totally see how it'd be dope. Now, they should also have the game sometimes. That I don't disagree with.
I guess so.
No,
I guess so.
I went and saw this band. They're called Godspeed You Black Emperor, and they use like old film cameras to like do their visuals, and it looks super sick. But it's like it's all like part of like the experience. They have these like super long songs, but it's like all part of the experience of like you listen to their music,
we need
you see the visuals, and
we do need Godspeed. They should have invited Godspeed You Black Emperor instead of you two to open the Sphere.
Honestly, those with their visuals on the Sphere, it would have looked sick.
I'm not lying. I'm not being sarcastic. They should have. Okay. I like Godspeed You Black Emperor. They should have.
You're a
done
fan?
The Sphere is so bad.
I'll invite you next time they're in Columbus.
Thank you. Anyway.
Anyway, I think that's all we have.
More than enough time, yeah.
For today's episode. Matt and I have to go to bed.
I also do.
We know it's late when Theo has to go to bed. But thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute blast. And until next time, we will catch you on the Flippity Flop.